Just imagine what could happen if 300,000 TPS recipients are removed from the United States. The US economy will actually lose 45 to 164 billion dollars in revenue over the next decade. Plus, Social Security and Medicare will lose about $7 billion in contribution. Now, this brings to my question, or the topic of my discussion: should temporary protected status be terminated? With the monetary figures aforementioned, the answer should be no. It should not be terminated at all. Welcome everyone to my persuasive presentation on TPS program should not be terminated. In this presentation, I'll be discussing about the contribution of the TPS recipients to the US economy, some testimonies from TPS recipients, and the impact on the US-born children of the TPS recipients. Before even discussing about the contribution of the TPS recipients to our economy, I believe it is important to understand what TPS actually is. TPS, Temporary Protected Status Program, is granted by the United States Secretary of the United States, Department of Homeland Security, to those foreign-born individuals that are living in the United States who are unable to go back to their nations because of the circumstances or conditions such as ongoing armed conflict, natural disasters, circumstances preventing them to go back from their countries because their countries cannot adequately handle their return. Moving along, the data collected by infographics indicates that the TPS recipients contribute about 4.5 to 16.4 billion dollars in revenue every single year, and Social Security Administration and Medicare gets about $7 billion in contribution. Along with that, in addition, 27,000 TPS recipients or TPS holders from 11 designated nations currently, they are the business owners and they employ themselves as well as the US workers in the United States. And if the TPS is terminated, then we will lose those businesses and those revenues that we get from, and people are not employed, and our economy will go down. It's plain and simple. Moving along, we have a picture of Miss Lagunas and her daughter in my PowerPoint presentation, slide number 4. You can click and see it. That's Miss Lagunas and her daughter Angie. They live in Stillmore, California, and she, Miss Lagunas, is one of nearly 200,000 people from El Salvador who is a TPS recipient. She says there is nothing to go back in El Salvador if the TPS designation ends in January 2020 for El Salvador. She adds, the infrastructure may be better now, but the country is in no condition to receive them. Adding to the testimony from Ms. Lagunas, I would like to share my personal experience with my co-worker Michael, who is also a TPS recipient from El Salvador. He has been in the United States and been a TPS recipient since 2005. He has been paying taxes, and he thinks the country of domicile for him is United States of America, not El Salvador. He has a 13-year-old son who is United States born, who is an American. And whenever I talk to him about the situation or the deadline that is looming, which is January 2020, he says, we don't know what the future holds for us. We don't know what is going to happen. We don't know whether it will be extended or it will be terminated. If it gets terminated, then I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm in a dilemma whether to take my family members and my son, who has never seen El Salvador in his life, and we have to move to El Salvador, or just let my son stay here with the guardians in the United States, and for us just hide here as an illegal immigrants and always be in that position, or always have that worry whether he'll be arrested or deported. Moving along, according to the American Psychological Association, TPS parents with immigration-related psychological distress reported negative impacts on their adolescent children aging from 12 to 18 years old. Children of detained and deported parents demonstrate higher level of trauma symptoms and internalizing problems for ages 6 to 12 years old. And parental unauthorized status or illegal status has been linked with the lower cognitive ability in children from 0 or newborn to 6 years old. From lower cognitive ability to psychological stress, it is a lot for a child to take. Without my personal experience from my co-worker Michael, I would not have understood how the TPS recipients are coping their daily lives and what their future holds in your future. They are not ready to leave their nation that they have considered, that they considered the country of domicile for them for years. Plus, they are worried if they have to leave their US-born children and jobs and businesses and homes and move to the country that they barely know about. The worries of revocation of TPS designation are always lingering for TPS recipients. However, we should not let the government to end this TPS program, which is not only helping the foreign-born individuals who are unable to return to their country due to circumstances or conditions, but it is also helping our socio-economic development. Finally, we should urge our government not to terminate the TPS. Without TPS, we will not be able to help the citizens of the nations who are going through hardship. We do not want our neighbors, our colleagues, who have been living in the United States for a long time to leave the nation that they call home. Thank you.